Hi and welcome back to my little corner of the internet. Today we are making teacup holders! And this is totally inspired by Rachel Maksy. So what I'm starting off with is finding out what cup I'm going to use. And it's going to be a little one. I'm just tracing out to see how big it is, to get a feel of how big this teacup holder is going to be. How the design is going to be. So I'm thinking that there's going to be an underside and that there's going to be like a protective layer inside of the teacup saucer, so the teacup won't clank around, and then the teacup is going to lie on top of that. Then there's going to be something over that, so that won't go anywhere either. So it's going to look something like this. And I'm going to be sewing it together, and I'm going to be knitting it together or hammering it together with these metal things. So these are the pieces. Now I just have to figure out what kind of leather I'm going to use. I have this fairly thick leather and I have a more thinly leather that's more pliable. And I have this thick layer in different colors, but I'm thinking I'm going to, because this is technically a mock-up, so I'm just going to use the bigger piece with the holes in it. And I have made stuff like this before. As you can see, there's a little pouch thingy that I made for a steampunk costume a long time ago. So I'm just rummaging around to see what else I have, what colors I also could use. So I'm going to be using the dark leather and the red leather. So I'm just cutting it out, as you can see, measuring and making sure I have all the pieces. A water glass can be useful for many things, especially when you don't have weights to put on stuff and you need to cut them. And I'm going to make like a secret pocket on the back so I can put stuff in it, so it's not only for holding a teacup. And now it's time for assembly. So I'm going to be knitting it together. Just marking off with an awl, poking that through, putting the metal knit through, and then giving it a good punch with a hammer. I could have made this a lot tighter. I have done that on my other ones that I have made, but I wasn't quite sure if the leather would be forgiving enough for me to, for it to be more stretchy. So this one is fairly loose, but I could totally have made it even tighter. Here I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to make, where I'm going to stitch it together and how I'm going to do it. And I have this roly pokey thing, and then I'm poking through with an awl afterwards, so I can so I can sew through it without destroying my hands too much. This was a bit of a trial and error thing. But unfortunately, when sewing this together, I only had one leather needle, so I did it a bit lopsided because you're supposed to be sewing it together with 2 needles, but I only had one, so I sewed one side first, or one part of the stitches first, and then I sewed the other one afterwards. worked, but it's not ideal. As you can see, the stitches are a bit wonky. And I'm thinking I'm going to make like a closure, because again this is a mock-up, so I was just playing around. And I wasn't quite sure how I was going to make the cup not go anywhere. But again, I could have made it even tighter, so I didn't really need a closure if I had done that. But it's just a part of the process. So I had these push buttons, and I'm going to put like a leather thing over and then put in the push buttons, and then that is going to be my closure. And I'm going to hammer those together, I was just pointing at, so I can put them onto a belt. So I'm just putting in the little closure thingy with the push button and the strip of leather. Using my owl to make hole before I sew them together. And at this point I've figured out that I have made the strips of leather too small at the top, so I had to, well, it's only going to fit on a very small belt, but luckily I have one of those, so no worries. And here it is on. Isn't it lovely? Just have to check to see if it's okay. I think it came out fairly fine, or fairly okay. I'm definitely going to make more. As you can see here, I did. This time a lot tighter and a lot neater. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!